I think that a large part of my life has been characterized by a sort of desperation to be understood. I think that's more or less the emotional basis from where my work and where my job comes from. When I was growing up, it was really hard for me to get people to accept the things that I liked. I had very particular interests, and I felt good about the things that I was interested in. I always felt like, I liked things for good reasons, and that, like to use an example, I was really big into Nintendo for a long time when I was a kid. I was just this huge Nintendo fanboy because those were the games I had, and I had Nintendo Power Magazine, and I would read it all the time. And, I would run into lots of people who would be like staunchly anti-Nintendo because of the fact that they didn't have one. And they had their own, everyone kind of has their own justification for why they own the games that they do when you're a kid. I mean, the real reason you only have so many games is that you can only afford so many games, right? Christmas comes around, you got to make your choice. Which console do you want? Justify that to yourself, if you're from a family that can afford a console in the first place. But I think that's where those console wars comes from, like where all that contention and fighting comes from. And for me, as someone who's a Nintendo fanboy at a time when the GameCube was coming out, people made fun of Nintendo for being a kiddie console, and not as many people owned it. It wasn't the best-selling one. It was the PS2 was the one that most people had. And, like, that sounds like such a weird thing to say, like, that this was a huge impact on my life, but it makes sense when you think about it, that, the GameCube didn't sell that well, and therefore most people couldn't relate to those games, the games that I was playing, like Super Smash Bros. Melee and Pikmin and stuff, when those came out. Those are the games that I wanted to talk about, the games that I cared about. And other kids my age would be like, nah, man, it's all about Grand Theft Auto. It's all about this game and that game, and you're an idiot for, picking Nintendo and for liking those games. And so for me growing up, I always had this sort of feeling like I had to constantly explain myself and be like, no, this is why I like the things I like, I think that for a lot of people, it made more sense at an age like that to conform to what other people were doing. Because when you're confronted with the idea that you're not cool for liking the things you like, then you have to kind of make a decision. Either I'm right or they're right. And if you can't really justify yourself, then you're fucked in a way, right? Like, there's no way I was ever going to convince these kids that Nintendo was cool. They were just going to not like me for not liking Nintendo. But I always held my position. I was never someone who was willing to give in because it made me uncool. I was never someone who could say, like, oh, I guess you guys are right. And then pretend to like what they liked. It just wasn't really in my nature to do that. I've always been extremely authentic about the things I like. And I think a big part of that is because I was raised to be proud of myself and to generally be myself. It was not only what my parents instilled in me, but that's what most of media was trying to instill in me. How many fucking cartoons are there and movies are there about being yourself and being honest with yourself? So I always was. It never made me popular, and it never made people like me or understand me. So over time, I felt like I was in this constant battle to have people understand me and understand my perspective. And so I became a writer so that I could write about try and use language as best I could to express the things I was thinking and feeling, and maybe try to get people not necessarily to agree with me, but at least to get where I was coming from, to appreciate why I like the things I like. And so when I got to a point where people actually were reading my stuff and having that reaction, that's the most gratifying thing in the world for me. That's why doing these videos and making content like this has gotten to be so affirming and addictive in a way, where it's like having people understand me is like whoa, I can actually have that, as someone who grew up without it, and was generally like a lonely kid growing up, someone who I couldn't make a lot of friends because I wouldn't give in to other people's interests. I wouldn't compromise on, trying to get into what everyone else is getting into, which is kind of funny because now as an adult, I'm a lot more into that, because when I see people all being into something now I want to understand it, just as much as I want other people to understand my interests. When I see everyone jumping onto some new bandwagon, I'm like, well, what's the deal? I gotta know, because I want to understand other people, and that can even help me to understand myself better when I can compare those things, compare what other people are into against what I'm into. So, that's why I'm always asking other people to do what I do. Like, I want to see more of that, like just to witness, to have other people explain to me why they think what they do, and then we can have this sort of conversations back and forth and come to an understanding about each other, and I think that's always a fascinating and fun experience. And it's kind of funny, though, because there's like this double-edged sword when you're a YouTuber like me, where, because what I get out of it so much is having people understand me and loving to see people understand me, then like stuff like how many views I get on my videos, or like, how much I might make through ad revenue, or how many subscribers I have. Well, subscribers is better than the other two, but like just views and stuff doesn't tell me much, because it's like, well, what did people why were they watching it? Or if they hit the like button, what did they like about it? Did they actually get my point, or did they like it for other reasons? Even subscribers, like sometimes I have people who are like, who will say things like long-time subscriber, and then like go on to praise me for reasons that have nothing to do with what I'm trying to do out of my videos. Like anytime someone compliments me for how objective my videos are, and I'm like, I don't know where you're coming from, guy. It's not my goal to be objective. I don't consider that a compliment. My tagline is Otaku Gonzo Journalism. But because that's the affirmation I'm looking for, the most exciting part of my job for me is reading comments from people who agree with me, or understand me, or get where I'm coming from. Some of the coolest comments will be when someone's like, I hate this show, but you've made me appreciate why people like it, and what's good about it, and what, carries it in the medium, and carries it in your mind. So, like, yeah, comments are the best part in a way, but comments are also the worst part, because when I read comments, I constantly come face to face with the people who don't get it, with the people who've misinterpreted the point, with the people who don't know where I'm coming from, with the people who I apparently haven't explained myself well enough to. And the fact of the matter is, and this is why I keep using this phrase, fighting the ocean. If you've heard me say this, I've always said that responding to comments is fighting the ocean. Because the fact of the matter is that the vast majority of people are never going to understand me, and have no reason to. Like, why would they care to, I mean, to use like a cliche, like someone in China who's just living an ordinary life over there probably has very little interest in my ideals or my worldview or my lifestyle, because their entire society and everything they know is totally different, and the things that I'm interested in, like, they wouldn't even be able to like grasp, and vice versa. I wouldn't, like, if someone explained their values to me who lived in a completely different culture from mine, I'd probably have a difficult time fully coming to grips with it. I mean, there's a level on which we can all understand each other because we have empathy, and the point of empathy is that it allows you to understand people who aren't you, but no one will ever completely understand you because you are you. Every individual person has their own context and their own experience. Even people who are right next to me, like my brother Victor, me and him talk all the time. We're constantly explaining ourselves to each other, but there's some level on which we just don't get each other. Some elements of our personality are so fundamentally different that we can't fully get it, you know, and no one will ever completely get it. I can never fully explain every nuance of being me to someone else, no matter how much time passes and how much I talk. So when I'm confronted with like hundreds of thousands of people responding to my content, then it's not at all surprising that there's going to be a huge element of those people who just don't get it, who don't care, who don't get where I'm coming from, who misinterpret it, you know, and I'll never be able to explain it well enough for everyone to get it, you know. If I make a video like the most boring taste in anime, like, which got way more views than I anticipated because, you know, on this channel, this DigiBro After Dark channel, most of the viewers here are people who have more context into who I am than most people, you know. Most of the people who are here are people who are, you know, fans of my content because I don't advertise this channel that much, and it's not usually inviting videos. They're not the kind of videos that I expect people to just click on because it's like some weird, crazy-looking guy in a dark-ass room talking into a fucking phone camera, you know? But, like, when a video like that gets out there, it has, like, 60,000 views, which is crazy. But there's so many people who have seen it now who have no idea who I am, who don't know the context of the video, who don't completely appreciate where I'm coming from. And so, even though I feel like I explained myself really well in that video, you know, there were so much of people misinterpreting the point, mischaracterizing who I am and what I was saying. And, you know, even though I've made 2 follow-up videos and I've responded to tons of comments, there's always gonna be people who are still saying things that, like, you know, that completely miss what I'm trying to say with the video. And it can't be helped. I just, like, at some point, I have to be able to accept it and move on, because otherwise I'll trap myself forever. And as I've been making these vlogs, I've started to have this feeling like I get so into responding to every single comment because, again, I'm desperate to be understood. So every time someone misunderstands me, I have to explain myself. I have to make it more clear, you know, especially if it's someone who seems at all reasonable, you know, like when I get comments that are just like, fuck you, you're wrong, then I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to reach that guy, you know. But when someone leaves like a long, detailed comment, but just misses the point, then I'm always like, well, now I gotta, you know, try to make this guy understand. But it'll never happen. I'll never get everybody. And I get into this mode where I'm like, tempted to just make a fucking live stream and just argue with people forever. Like, I could do that. I could make a live stream where it's just me and people comment and I respond and we just argue until everyone understands. In other words, until the heat death of the universe. But it's really funny because, like, it's like a toxic double-edged sword for me. Like, on the one hand, I have to read the comments to get the affirmation that I want, but on the other hand, reading the comments sends me into this spiral of having to constantly, you know, feel like I'm not explaining myself well enough, when really I should be just, like, you know, like, again, there's no actual victory. So, like, at some point I have to say, there's a limit to my audience, you know, like, just speak to the people who get it to some extent, you know, like, I like the idea that I can challenge people's notions and maybe get them to reconsider how they feel and rethink their opinions, but, like, I can't chase down every single person who doesn't get it. Really, the best thing about my videos are the people who aren't a part of my audience, who become a part of it, who watch a video and go, wow, I never thought of it that way. I didn't, you know, subscribed. And I'm like, cool. Someone who had no idea who I was now, you know, has a new perspective. That's really cool. But, like, I have to sort of, at some point, go, like, as long as my audience gets it, that's all that matters. And, like, that's what I love about Patreon. What's so gratifying about Patreon is that, like, as long as that number stays up, as long as the number of the amount of money I'm making continues to go up, then I know I am net doing my job right. You know, as long as it keeps going up, then I know that the people who already understood me have continued to understand, and that new people are coming to understand, and therefore I'm still doing my job well, you know? Because when I look at a bunch of negative comments, I'm like, am I even reaching anybody? And then I can go to Patreon and it's like, well, if I wasn't, then this number would be going down. You know, if I was making content that everybody thought was stupid and that nobody could relate to, then I would be losing money. So that's like why it's incredibly, like that is when it comes down to it, when I have to break away from everything else, I just look at Patreon. It's like, let's ignore all the comments that don't get it and look at Patreon. And it's funny because, you know, I have all the context in the world. I know not only everything about myself, but I've seen every video I've put out. I know everything I've said online, you know? And there's such a huge gradient between the people who, you know, I have commenters like someone like Lachlan Still. If you go read down in the comments, you'll probably see that guy on my video. And he's seen almost everything I've made and can argue on my behalf a lot of the time. You know, other people leave negative comments. That guy can come in and answer with what I would have said, because he gets it. And that's how I know that I have said enough. I have said enough that some people can get it completely, because there are people who get it completely. But then you could have someone who's seen 3 of my videos and thinks that they know what I'm about and actually has no idea. Again, with the objective criticism thing, you have no idea how often I get people praising me for how objective my videos are. And it like blows my mind, because I go so far out of my way to clarify that nothing I say is ever meant to be objective. It's all just my opinions and things that are interesting to me, you know? It says Otaku Gonzo Journalist on every page I have, and I know not everybody knows what Gonzo Journalism is, but Gonzo Journalism is about the subjective experience of the author, and it's all about like embracing like the personal narrative. Go look it up if you don't know what it is. But even just in videos, I say it all the time. You know, the start of every Sword Art Online video is like, this won't be fair. I'm just being mean, you know. I just started doing videos on Dark Souls 2 on my gaming channel called Fuck Dark Souls 2. I mean, if you can't tell by the title already, but in the first episode, I'm like, I hope you like bitching about Dark Souls 2, because that's all I'm going to be doing. And then I've had comments that are like, this isn't a very fair and balanced critique. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, when have I ever done one of those? You know, I mean, I can be fair to an extent, because it's not like my mind is nonstop insane bias. You know, I have like my own logic that is similar to most people's, and I too enjoy witnessing a fair criticism from time to time. But, like, it's never, like, the objective of mine to be objective. And I keep getting these comments lately on this channel because there's more people coming in who, you know, don't know exactly what the channel is. Well, they'll be like, what's the point of this? Or, like, what, like not, like, asking what the point I'm trying to make is, or getting mad that I'm, like, taking something seriously in their mind, when this channel is, like, if you're following it, you know, it's been like 3 vlogs a day for weeks. You know, it's just madness. It's just everything that comes into my head I make a video about, you know. I had a guy asking me, or who was mad at me on the video from yesterday about, what was it? The best season of anime, like whether or not this is the best season of anime. And he's like, I don't understand how you can take mal stats seriously, and how can you use that for an argument? And I'm like, because that's the point. That's the conceit of the argument, is that it's a fun thought experiment to use mal stats to try to figure out the best season of anime. It's not like a scientific study. It's not a, you know, a journalistic effort to go in search of what is the actual best season of anime. It's a guy looking at my anime list and going, isn't this interesting? What if anime's getting better? That could be cool, you know? Yeah. So, and here I am right now, like, even now I'm explaining myself. And for, like, most of the audience watching this video, you probably already knew that. You probably got that in the first place. But when I read a comment like that, it's like, I can't help myself but to try and explain myself further. And at some point, it whittles down to an audience that's like, we fucking get it, you know? Like, making that second Metroidvania video. It's like, who is that for other than just me? And, like, you know, just being mad at Nate for missing my point. Even though he admitted himself he barely watched my video and has already been mad about this point for... Me and him have been arguing about this for months, if not years. Me and him and Hypocrite. So, like, it's pretty much irrelevant to anybody else. But that's how, insane I am about trying to justify every opinion I have. When in reality, I should have said, well, the first 3 commenters on the video all got it. Good enough for me, Because that can often be it. Like, if I put out a video and, like the erased one, where, like, there was such a huge contingent of people who were mad and who have become this controversial figure on Reddit and everywhere about this erased video, but if you look through the comments, half of them are people who totally agree with me and got my point, and I'm like, those are the people the video was for, that it wasn't for everyone to have their opinion represented and to have this, like, objective statement about the quality of the show out there. It was about me sharing my thoughts and you guys maybe agreeing with them or finding something in them. And yeah, I just wanted to make this video because again, I'm desperate to explain myself, but the most interesting thing for me about this is that, like, for me, YouTube is a long game. It's all, like, this is what I'm going to be doing for as long as I can, I've already been doing YouTube specifically for 2 years. I've been writing about anime for 9 years. I plan to do it for as long as I can and to get as many thoughts out there as possible. And I think that for, like, what causes a lot of this, like, a lot of these comments that don't get who I am or where I'm coming from, is that they're very immediate. I think there's a way that a lot of people view YouTube where they click on a video and that video by itself is the entire point. It's everything they need to know. It's like each video is its own individually published scientific article kind of thing, that's supposed to reach all the conclusions in one space. And I don't view them that way. I view my channel as the career. I view every video as a part of the same story being told about me and my relationship with anime and my relationship with my audience and, all of us coming to an understanding together. Because I'm constantly realizing new things and learning new things. My videos build off of each other. There's certain points that I'm constantly reinforcing, certain things that I bring up again and again and again throughout my videos, whereas there's other points that, might be freshly made, or you might get to see my perspective change in real time. A lot of people were interested in my stance on Kill La Kill, where when I first finished the show, me and Best Guy Ever did this podcast about it. This was before he was called Best Guy Ever, on Digi Does Anime, like, way back. And, like, my opinion on that show completely radically changed by the time I made more videos about it. And, like, you get to be there with me. And that original video is, like, it's kind of pointless now. Like, if you went back and watched it individually, it wouldn't mean anything. It's only, like, the narrative continuing through the videos that makes it more interesting and, like, gets you caught up to where I am now. So sort of viewing my videos in a void is weird and, misses the point in a way. But again, I can't make everybody understand that. It's really you guys who get it and who are on board who I'm, like, really speaking to. And, I said this of my erased video one time, I don't remember where, but I said that the video was really for the people who felt disappointed in the end with the show and needed an explanation for why. And I can't control who sees the video, so, it was gonna be seen by a massive number of people who love the show and think I'm totally wrong about everything, and that can't be helped. Because I wouldn't want to change that, though, because, like, if I limit it to one audience, then I don't get those new people who actually, see the message for the first time and get it and want to become a part of this ongoing narrative. So it's kind of like casting a wide net, but only expecting to catch a few fish in it, whereas most of them have to be let back into the ocean. I think I've probably made that point. I know how much you guys love my incredibly awkward endings to these vlogs. Bye, bee.